Okay, we'll start now. So good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
We'll be starting now, and I'll be starting now with the applications of this the three numerical methods that we have learned. That where do we use in physics problems? And in fact, we are going to see some of the interesting applications of those uh, method is used in Planck's radiation law number one, and other one is particle in a finite potential well. Okay, so these two problems really require the numerical methods what you have learned. Okay, particularly these various methods that you have learned, Newton-Raphson, regular policy, such things will be extremely useful. That has been converted in appropriately as a find root in Mathematica regular codes. So we'll just spend few topics on that and see where does this numerical methods go into there, and then how does it really help us to understand the physical problems in a much better way by using this numerical methods. Okay, that's what our target now. So I just start from the radiation law. I'll be projecting to you the experimental facts about the radiation law. Okay. Then we will see how this radiation law has been studied by different people and how does it emerge as an important discovery in the physics, particularly quantum physics, which is the origin for our quantum physics, and how does this tool, various numerical tool, has helped us to really understand the things in a much better way. That's what the idea here. I'll be just explaining some of the established experimental facts, and then there is a modeling approach for that. People have made a lot of effort to understand about that. Then finally, we try to use the mathematical tool to get a deeper understanding of the radiation law, and we would like to have a thorough understanding about it by the help of this so-called mathematical codes. Okay, the experimental facts are very simple, and everybody is aware of that. And you can see here, I have plotted, I have not shown the x-axis, y-axis, what the quantities are. This is the wavelength in meters, and this is frequency in hertz on the other side of it. There are two figures I have shown, and you can see the well-known experimental fact. I am just raising the temperature. This is the temperature factor for the one of the plots, and first plot where you are trying to change lambda here and making a plot by plotting a the so-called the spectral radiant emittance, which means wavelength radiant emittance, spectral radiant. You can represent the y-axis in units of energy density, it is energy per unit volume, or you can write in terms of the watts per centimeter square per se, per meter, and watt uh, that you can represent the joule per meter square. It is the energy density, energy per unit area per unit time. Same both quantities. Energy, this and this are same. Energy per unit time per unit area. Okay, for a small interval of wavelength, d lambda, and here it is d nu. That's what the quantities here. We'll see them little more on details of it. So anyway, you just assume that this is the energy per unit area per unit time. And this is also same, but the representations are different. This is the lambda, this is the frequency. Okay. So now you can see as a function of lambda, when you raise the temperature, this is increase of temperature. I'm just increasing in steps of 1000, going up to starting from 2000 to 6000. There is an increase in temperature. When you increase the temperature, you will find that the peak positions, what you observe here, because it's lambda, So therefore, this is a peak question, this is a peak question, this is a peak question. They are all getting shifted towards the y-axis, which means it becomes smaller and smaller when you raise the temperature. It's an experimental fact which anybody can make a measurement, measure the energy in units of watt per second, and then make a plot between the lambda versus energy, the watt per second. So you find it's going to be an excellent result that is going to be shifted towards the y-axis. As you raise the temperature, the peak also changes. Okay, moving towards the left. Same data you convert into form of frequency scale. You just see that this is the frequency scale. You find the numbers are getting altered so much here. You can see the number of change. This actual function as it is by substituting your block. So now we experimentally find that there's going to be increase in peak position with respect to frequency. Another way of representation, but there seems to be a strong connection between these two. So there's a shift in the peak position with respect to the lambda towards the x-axis, y-axis. This is towards the away from the y-axis, which means this is increasing and this is decreasing. It's the first experimental observation. It's an universal property of this radiation law. It's well known for us. Next, what you can do, you can find out there is a maximum which is observed. You find out lambda maximum for every temperature. Here, 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 here. Lambda maximum into T is always constant. That is also an experimental fact. Okay. Lambda maximum, but different temperature. The lambda maximum to temperature is a constant. So this constant is discovered by another scientist. Okay. So this radiation law is known for many type of materials, but this is an universal which is observed. And this is again the peak maximum also seems to be consistent with the maximum lambda what you observe and the temperature. So if you take product of these two, you'll get always same number, independent of temperature, independent of the lambda maximum what you have. Same thing happens here also. You have a new maximum, multiply with the temperature, you find it's going to be constant. That is also being observed experimentally. This is the next fact that you know. So two important universal observations that has been observed. Third one is you find out the area under the curve at every temperature, either in terms of the lambda or in terms of frequency, divide by T power 4. Okay, you get another important constant that's also universal constant. That is Stephen-Boltzmann constant. So integrate, okay, the entire wavelength that is available, the entire energy that you wanted to find out, which is nothing but the area under this curve, divided by T power 4, this is another constant. That is also shows a universal decay. So these are the facts that has known the beginning of your 19th century. Now, there are so many people worked on this. Already, there are two names already known in this. You have the Wien's constant and you have the Stevens constant, and the Rayleigh-Jeans also, they also worked on this. They wanted to solve this problem. So there are great effort that has gone in to reproduce the experimental results. But Planck has succeeded making an assumption which nobody has realized it or nobody has thought about it. And nobody has even felt that it's going to be such things can happen. So that is the thing which we have done it. Now to evaluate this, the so-called the area under the curve divided by T power 4, you need to have a computation skills. Lambda max T also you have to find out. That also you need to have a computation skill. So to find these things, what are which we have learned so far, and also to make these plots, produce these results, this tool really useful for us. You will see very many things that you are going to learn by the process or by using this tool, but that's what we have now. So I have here, what I did is I simply define the function. For example, I see J is a function of lambda and T. This is known results as per the Planck. And you can see the denominator, there is no unit associated with it. It's the dimensionless quantity. We have only the quantity what you have here. Yes, a unit. Okay. Similarly, I can represent this by in terms of the frequency also. This is with respect to the lambda. This is with respect to the frequency. I can connect from lambda to frequency by using a simple replacement and multiply and taking a derivative with respect to c by lambda, c by f with respect to, which means c by f in this is the conversion in terms of the frequency. When you do that, you just take a derivative and substitute. Now you might be wondering what is this derivation is doing here to change from one to this. Okay, so all these things we can understand by looking at a little carefully about the units associated with them. Okay, so this is dimensionless. This is again dimensionless quantity. The left with only this dimension. And if you carefully look at the dimension, you find something strange. You see the joule per second is there, that's the watt. So watt per meter square per meter is the unit that you will be getting. Okay, you can cross check it. Substitute one by one carefully for the parameters what you have. For example, this is the c, velocity of light, square of that. And joule second is the Planck's constant. And there is a lambda power 5, which is meters power 5. You substitute, simplify that. You find joules per second is going to be watt and per unit area, and there is one more meter which is left out. So which we define it as per unit length interval or per unit lambda. Okay, so this unit per unit lambda, which means lambda into lambda plus d lambda, whenever you have that factor can be multiplied with the d lambda, so that you get for the d lambda how much is the j that is possible. So this divided by meter is something very important for us that should be kept in mind. Okay, this is the power per unit per meter square. Then there is another meter which is left, that should be kept in mind. That's what gives us to lambda plus d lambda. For a length of small d lambda, if you integrate over the whole thing, you get the total power that is possible to obtain for this function, which is connected to the integration with respect to the lambda. Similarly, I hope it's clear for all of you. This is joule second for the Planck's constant. Okay, and then c square has meter square per second square. Okay, then the whole thing divided by lambda, which is a meter power 5, that leads to this per meter. Okay, this is what this. If you want to convert in terms of energy density, you have to use the velocity of light here. That's all. Okay, so you just use the velocity of light component and make sure that this can be expressed in terms of energy density per unit length interval. That is what it's going to be. Okay, I hope this part is clear for all of you. Next is this derivative part, which we bring in because we wanted to know d nu should be the nu or df f plus f into f plus df over the frequency interval. So therefore, that should be taken into consideration. Take this factor what you have, replace this lambda by c by f, and then the df part you can take here, substitute it here. This you will be getting it in terms of the lambda to frequency scale that is being get converted. Okay, this is what the result that you have, and this unit. Okay, what you have here, you can look at here. You have a h is joule second, and then this f cube, what you have is 1 by n cube. Okay, and divided by meters square per second square. If I simplify that, I'll get a J by meter square. And multiply and divide by second. And we'll end up with the unit what we have seen. This must be square. I made a mistake. Okay, multiply and divide by second. Okay. So this becomes joule per meter square, and then divide by that joule. Yeah. This should be in watt. You should get per unit area, per unit time, per unit frequency interval. That is what the result that you should get. Do you get that? The joule per second is what? Okay, WATT watt. Then 1 by S is become a frequency. Okay, 1 by second is frequency. So I think this conversion is right now. Joule per second, and then please note down, joule per second is a watt, and this second I'm bringing it down as a frequency. Then there is a meter square. I think you are able to follow. I think this must be right now. It's okay. I hope it's clear for all of you. Joule per second. This must be watt if I write it. Yeah, that's a BW. Okay. Then the second, what you have, you can write it as 1 by frequency meter square. Okay, this is right. Are you agree with me?
Yes,
Agree
yes,
with
sir.
me?
Yes, sir.
I made a small correction. So now this is joule per second is watt, and then this second can be written as 1 by F, then meter square. This identical to what you have here. This is important for you to understand that this is what's really happening when you transfer this from lambda to frequency. Okay, and again you can do the same manipulation with the C, you can convert to energy density, you will get it. So it is possible to represent the Y scale various ways. Please note down whenever you study this black body radiation or a radiation, first make sure what is the type of unit that he has used in representing data. Whether it is energy density or in terms of watt. Okay, watt per centimeter square per unit interval of length per unit interval of frequency. That is the thing which you should note down. Otherwise, you will get features will be available, but magnitude will have a problem. So that should be taken care. I hope this is clear for all of you. So by making such careful analysis with these units that are available, I'm able to get a feel. Yes, these units are very consistent. They're all connected to this energy or a power, right? So this is what the thing that happens. These are the experimental facts that we know. And you can see how people have made an effort to do this. Okay. If, for example, lambda max into T, if you wanted to find out the function, there is a difficulty in doing this with the existing functions like before the radiation law, Planck's radiation. There are some difficulties, but experiment facts is consistent that this number seems to be experimentally reproducible. This number is very much consistent for any different temperature. This is a number that is being observed. Similarly, this area under this curve, okay, integrating over the entire lambda and frequency, and you find this number is also consistent. This is your Stevens-Boltzmann constant. These are the experimental. Even before determining the radiation law, are all experimental practice consistent. But after finding this radiation law, with Planck's radiation law, then everything has been fall in place. One model which provides all the various models that has been given, discussed independently by Rayleigh separately, Jeans separately, then Wiens separately, Stevens-Boltzmann, all has been combined, and it has seems to be successfully explained this observation, what is being observed universally. And there is a radical assumption that has been made at that time. There is no classical equivalent. because he himself is not sure who Planck himself, because he made such a radical assumption that seems to be, there's no classical analogy. And he was a bit worried whether his results may be right or wrong. But how did he arrive? That is something very fantastic. But what he has done initially, he was looking for a function that can be fit into this. Okay, his first attempt is such mathematical function. Okay, where with some constant that is there in the expression, he was searching for a function, and then he made an observation that there is some function seems to be fit to this observation. So there are fit parameters. He doesn't know what is the fit parameters are to start with. When he gives the first result, when he is proposing, he do not know what does this parameter means, but there is a good connection with that parameters is able to fit the result. That is his first experimental that model analysis by searching the functions which are available. Sort of an interpolation technique he has used, because one fellow has struggled to understand this side, the other fellow has struggled on this side. Then he tried to see that can I combine these two using some interpolation technique. He interpolated, and he found there is a function which can go with this experimental observation. You say mathematical tool has been used to look into the problem, but we do not know the physics behind that expressions. But mathematically, he has found some expression which goes very well with this experimental observation. But the objection is that how does possible to accept such things? It's an empirical form. There's no physical basis for it. Okay. So, what is the next step? So this cannot be accepted as it is. So we need to have some physical ground. That physical ground, one possibility what he did is classical results, he have a thorough picture about it. Okay, complete picture he has about the classically known result at that time with all other groups, whoever is worked on that. And then finally, what he wants to know that in order to arrive the expression what he has found empirically, one possible assumption he made, which is very radical. So this is what is radical assumption. HF. So they are all treated like an oscillators in a medium. When you treat it, they are all oscillator, they are oscillating. Okay. Classically, we find out what is the energy that is associated with them, which means find out the total energy of the oscillator divided by the total number of the oscillator, which gives the average energy of the oscillator. I hope that is clear for all of you. You have an oscillators, they are all oscillators, they are oscillating on a heat. So what you do, you find out what is the total energy that is coming out of this oscillators, total energy, divided by what is the average total number of oscillators that are available. If I divide that, I'll get what is the energy of the oscillator, which we count in terms of the modes. Call it as a mode, which is all well established at that time. By that time, number of mode calculation and its average energy has been established. Energy calculation, only thing we have done by integrating over all possible energies. Okay, that is what the result, which gives the average energy kT. Okay, thermally average energy is kT. That is what the result is known at that time. Okay, but what he has done is to have an expression of what he has found empirically. He did a radical assumption that energy is no longer continuous. I wanted to do some find out through the summation, starting from all possible energies for a given temperature, do all possible combinations of energy, take the energies starting from 0 to infinity. So look at this expression what we have here. NH nu. Replace this instead of E by KT, he has given the NHF divided by KT. And this gives the number of particles that's possible, or number of oscillators that we have. That is the thing when he did, he found this expression, what he has found empirically seems to be going well with the expression, what he has proposed. Therefore, he immediately felt there seems to be something interesting, and this to be interpreted at this stage. Okay, is it not? So at that time, he has just given this. You find there's a drastic change now. Okay, this drastic change in terms of the average, E average of a oscillator is going to be completely different. So that is what has happened. That's the background of the discovery of this one. Okay, we will see the finer details of this now. And what is that we need? If this lambda max T is experimentally observed number, this is the number. Is it possible to get it through this is the number? This model, what he has given. Planck's radical assumption of making the energy instead of a continuous, make it as a discrete. This is the discrete energy. The discrete thing has been used to find out the average number of the particle oscillator, and then total average energy of the oscillator, and divide by that. That is what is result that happens to sort of a distribution function. Okay, so now first thing that this agrees well with experimental results for every temperature. Number one. Number two, lambda max T is what has been predicted experimentally. That's also has been proved. And then not only that, it's applicable for both, whether you are lambda representation or a nu representation, doesn't matter. Okay, and shift also has been observed consistently, which means shift is observed, number one. Not only that, that the lambda max T is precisely there, is able to produce with this constant that he has introduced. So that is where his achievements, Gamaliel achievement. And then he is able to do with the frequency also. Maximum has been fixed. Okay, that is also has been found. Then the integrated area under the curve. What is the total energy that is being radiated by the system, oscillators, divided by T power 4. That number is also consistent with this model, what he has made with this radical assumption. Now we will see how much is the mathematical thing that we so now we have seen one step answer now. The summation. You know, when you start looking at the textbooks now, you know how many steps that you have to do. It will be there, this derivation is pages. Okay, 2-3 pages will be there. But if I accept enter it, I have the result already informed. Okay, sum NH nu e power n h f divided by k by t, which is n varies from 0 to infinity. So this is something amazing. There are many interesting facts that has been explained by this simple radical change, and we will see that. How to find out this lambda maximum, how to do the integration at every temperature and divide the T power 4. Okay, and this research reproduction can also be looked into it, and then we try to understand how does this KT, when it is getting modified into this HF divided by e power HF by KT minus 1. And what is that really does the expression to have an experimental features what has been observed. So we just go to the details bit more by having the program what I have here, which describes all about this black body radiation. So I just checked it. So this must be this what I have given is the background. Now we can have a theory, detailed theories that are available. What is black body, everything which you are all familiar and read it, we can understand. So to start with, first thing is I just evaluate the whole thing so that it is easy for me to explain step by step without any confusion, which can be explained. Evaluate, take little bit of time, doesn't matter for us. But you see, we wish to see every step carefully, understand that. And you see how we are going to exploit this numerical technique to find the lambda max T roots and what is the mathematics which is happening that can also be visually seen. Okay. It is being evaluated, hopefully, yes, done. Okay, so we'll go to the first step is the number of modes. This is what the number of modes. What does this number of mode means? How do you understand this mode? Okay, and this mode seems to be proportional to the square of the frequency. Okay, this is the mode which is proportional to the square of the frequency. Okay. So now mode plot can be made. You need to have both k and omega variations. For a given k, if omega is there, then the omega is more, it's going to oscillate. Is it right? Modes you wanted to visualize, is it not? And this mode can be visualized now by having a plot of sine kx, sine omega t. Okay. Of course, I have taken the standing wave because I'm just changing this to k to minus k so that I would see the standing wave like this. K equal to omega equal to 1. This I can make it oscillate. That's what we try to look. That's what's happening in the cavity. Okay. Now I can increase the number of numbers, and they are also oscillating. This is what the idea of cavity. Okay, you apply the proper boundary conditions and get this simplification. Finally, you will get this number. But what is actually happening is this is what the thing which we have, and this is already have a unit of. You can see in terms of frequency, it is 1 by meter cube unit. Okay, into hertz. Okay, number of modes per unit frequency interval, per unit volume, per unit frequency interval. That's what this meaning of this 1 by meter cube hertz. Okay. Number of modes per unit volume per unit frequency interval. That is what this mode means. That is the mode which you have. Is it clear for all of you? This derivation you can look into the text, proper text, and then get an idea. Then I am trying to explain here by visually seeing what does this mode means, and then change the number of waves, and then you make it oscillate. Is it clear for all of you? Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
This is really mode. You get a clear-cut picture what you are talking about. A mode. I can have only one mode here. This is oscillating now. The higher frequency is oscillating, and maybe I can fix it to a particular frequency and show. Then one by one. Okay. Now I increase the number of wavelengths and then make it oscillate. So this is the first point that one should be clear for all of you to understand the radiation law. Okay. So now, what is the classical point of view? What has been done? Now you can see what has been done classically, that has been given here. Find out what is the total energy of the oscillator and number of oscillator. This is the Boltzmann distribution. Okay. This is the Boltzmann distribution sits here in this energies to find out what is the average energy of the total average energy of the total energy, total average energy. En, e power minus n by integrating 0 to infinity. So this condition I don't want it, doesn't matter because we know the result. Integrate that, and then this is the number of oscillators that you have, that energy, and divided. This is going to be the average energy of the oscillator. Okay. So now this is done within no time. Both have been taken, numerator, denominator, simplified. This is the result that we have. The classical density in terms of nu. So U classical, what is the average energy? Classical into frequency, modes, multiplied by KT into this. That is what the result that you have. Now you look at this answer carefully. Joule per meter cube per unit frequency. What you have here is number of modes per unit volume per unit frequency interval becomes now in terms of energy. Energy density per unit frequency interval. For an interval of d nu or a df, you multiply this. That is why we use the term that nu plus nu d nu or f, comma f plus df. So multiply that, you'll get the total energy. That's what it's meaning of it. Now there is a connection between this C by lambda. That is a d lambda should be there when you go to the lambda mode. So therefore, you take a derivative of this Substitute here, convert this from frequency to the lambda. This is another equation, fantastic really. You can see joule per meter cube per unit frequency interval. Okay. Or per unit wavelength interval, we define that per unit length. Okay. So this is consistent. Here it is in terms of energy density. Now again you manipulate with the C, it can be converted in units of watts. Okay, watt per meter square, and then unit length or unit frequency. That is what the conversion. So people will always have some confusion. Students particularly, they mess up this when there is a watt units are coming, they will mess up with this and then try to confuse them. So it is nothing to confuse here. There's going to be another factor here. Okay, the velocity manipulation that gives that converts this into in terms of a watt per meter square per unit frequency interval or unit wavelength or unit length. Okay, that's what the thing that happened. This is the classical results, which is well known. There are many people who have made an effort, as I already indicated. Now, after the finding the function, Planck has found an empirical relation. Then he was looking for what should I do for getting this result in an analytical form. With one possibility, this is what he has done it. We find out what is the total energy of the oscillator, which has become quantum oscillators now. We call it is now comfortably quantum oscillators. Then a total number of quantum oscillators we find out. Take a ratio. This is what the ratio. This is the result. This is completely different from what you have here. This is KT. And this you have something very strange. And this is the result he has to convince the entire scientific community. Well, there are objections to start with. Nobody has believed this. And also everybody make a comment that how come this such a thing can happen? How come? Is this really, does it make sense or not? That is these are some of the raised by the people. And you look at the energy what you have with the classical with respect to this what he has given in terms of N. Because NH is the energy of the system now, whereas here it is KT. Only one straight line for a given T, that's energy. Whereas for a given temperature, only one energy. Whereas here you see, for a given temperature, there are several possible things depending on the value of N. This is something very, very important for us to understand. Okay? You get the point? KT, I'm just making an NH, just show you the how as a function of N, how does this energy changes, and not only that, when N changes, energy values are getting changes also. So, if you could see that at a given temperature, it is not just one energy which is playing a role there to decide the nature of the spectrum, like what you have the KT. Okay, there are various, look at this distribution, what you have, the energy which is changing, for example, is the frequency. Okay. And I have already, he has introduced a fact that NH nu. Okay. And we can see that number of N's that is going to come, you are getting it out of this will be varying. For a given temperature, you can see energy is different. Okay. So which means NH nu as new changes, there is a change of energy that's involved in terms of what is coming out from the so-called black body. Okay, so that is something very strange that happens. That energy is also shown here. Okay, we can calculate for a different frequency or a lambda, what is the energy associated with them? Okay, for a different, for example, 2 into 10 power 14, what is the energy of this photon? What is the energy of this so-called the quantized energy, so-called this quantized? They're all different. Okay, but how much they are going to contribute, it's very much depends on where you are and what is the type of the frequency that you have, or what is the wavelength that is involved. To make it in terms of wavelength. Do not know where the spectrum is here. No, actually, maybe the below that I might have done. Yeah, this is the spectrum I've learned. Okay, so it's so clear now that this seems to be energy factor which goes into this is not like KT, but it's completely different. Okay, with this started putting in things. Okay, you can calculate energy of, we can call, later on this has been defined in terms of the so-called, the name is given. It's a quantum of energy. It's not a continuous energy. There is a discrete. There is a packet of energy. There is we call it as a photon, the photon of energy. Okay, then for a given wavelength or a frequency, there is a corresponding energy which is associated with that, and we can find out how many number of what is the energy of the photons and how many number of photons that are coming out for a given energy. That can also be calculated. For example, here we have calculated the parameters which you define here. Energy of a green photon or energy of the green light. Okay, substitute this. This is for the energy of the wind. Okay. Now, number of green photon emitted 1 watt green bulb if I use, and this is the number of photon that comes out. Right? You follow what I'm saying? Which means the number of photons that are going to contribute here, the spectral lines are completely different. Okay, for each temperature, there are number of photons they are contributing. There is one peak question is there. The photons are distributed, okay, with different energies of the photons, and for a given t, you can see this is the kind of response that we have, and one of them have a maximum value. One of the photon which has a maximum value. That has been happening with respect to this function what he has introduced by Planck. Okay, so you can see that number of green photon emitted by 1 watt green bulb is this much numbers, and if I change this little bit of green, if I change the frequency a little bit, this is 520, 10 power minus, and of course green wavelength I have taken. In terms of frequency also it can be expressed, and you change this for entire range of visible region, you will find there's going to be change in the difference in number of photons that are coming out from the different lambda. For 1 watt bulb, suppose we take a different colors, then different number of photons that is going to be coming out, or different number of quantum of energy that is available. So here is the different lambda, number of photons are shown here. You can see the variation here, which is manipulated. I wanted to see that how the number of photons get changed. It says to cover from 400 to 700 nanometer. This is the number of photons varying for 1 watt of bulb of various lambda. And this is the number of photons that are coming out. Okay, so now we can have the energy density now. Again, instead of a KT, just 1 minute. Okay, I'll start again. I'm back.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear? Sound now? Audio is clear enough? Right.
Yeah, it's clear.
So
sir.
now you were able to calculate the number of photons also. For one watt bulb, if you fix it and then change the lambda, you will get the number of photons, which depends on the energy of the photon that changes number of photons. So here is the quantum with the Morse. This is what this result that you have. Again, this is unit wise is no change. This energy density per unit frequency interval. So 8 h pi nu cube by c cube, and this is dimensionless quantity. Substitute them, simplify, confirm that this is the unit that you will be getting. Similarly, you convert the lambda also. This again, you'll get this result, which is again energy density per unit length interval or unit wavelength interval. Okay, and to find this, what I discussed earlier now with the function, you multiply this by c by 4. Okay, this will get converted in terms of watt per meter square, and the other one is for the frequency, other one is for the meter. That's what the result that you will be getting it. Of course, I explained here the density of above is thermal equilibrium, so setting inward, outward gives a factor half for the radiated power outward, and one must average over all the angles, which gives another factor half. Therefore, 1 c by 4, if I use that, I'll be getting this result, which will be get converted in terms of the watt per meter square per second here and per unit length here. So that's another way to represent this, the energy density. So that's going to happen, because if you look at in terms of the engineers, they try to use in units of watts. Okay, that's what whereas these people are trying to describe in terms of energy densities. It's all matter of convenience. When you want to convert that in terms of watts per meter square, you use the C/4. Okay, so now we have this factor and which converts and brings it in this form, watt per meter square. Okay, so this is what I'm showing here, and that's what you can integrate now over the entire range with this factor, and you see that this number is established by Stevens constant that you are able to get. Okay, so after this is for the constants which are available, which you are able to get it. You can see the H parameter, H class, and HA, and some constants, gravitational, which are all this later stage. And Stevens constant, substitute these values. You have this with unit, you are able to get it. This is the famous number, the radiation law, and this has been discovered even before the discovery of the Planck's radiation. Similarly, the other one, you got this range displacement here. So you make these substitutions here. These are all very simple substitution. This is what the result you have, and you substitute and simplify this. When you do this one, this is where I am trying to say that you need to have what you need. How do you solve this equation? How do you solve this? I've taken the derivative of that is equal to 0, and for particular value, 1 minute. Hello? Just, quite under ma. Right on. But okay, so this is the equation now. This is, I'm taking the derivative and simplifying, and this should be solved now to find for what value of x this goes to 0. X equal. So this you can try with the methods what has been learned already. Either use a bisection method, okay, or you can use
Newton-Raphson.
Newton-Raphson can be tried, or you can use the regular Farsi method. Try that, whatever which I have given, that you can check it. And this is mathematical code, find root, that's all. Okay, so now what is the advantage here is you can see the number of digits accuracy that we wanted to create here. I am able to see here table n value, find root. This is the number of precision, digit precision we require. Find root. 0, working precision is n. Starting from 10 digits, we are able to go up to 100 digits of accuracy. That's possible here. And you may ask, how do we get this 100 digit of accuracy? Because we retain it as an integer form, not real numbers, and then get the integers and look for the numerical form. Then you will get the kind of a accuracy that's possible for a different integers. This is the n values. Okay, precision n that we need. So we will try to have 16 digits are possible for us with the other software like Fortran. Now here I started the 10, 20 up to 100 in advance. Okay. So, and there is a requirement also because these numbers, what is that we are trying to do here? We are finding the lambda max to t, which is such a small number. Okay, minimum of 8 to 10 digits of accuracy we require because it's such a small number. And correspondingly here, the number accuracy is also equally important. So therefore, that should be taken care. Make sure that you are finding out the number of digits that is what you required for the problem what for that. Because this is an angstrom unit. So therefore, naturally, you should be very careful about getting this number. Minimum of about 10 digits, 10 to 12 digits. Then substitute and simplify and we have a result. And the mathematical technique, as I said, overall, we follow various methods to represent it, to use the numerical methods. But what is the actually idea behind that has been seen already also. But as a mathematics, you can see, if I normalize this Planck's function, I get an x power 5 e power x minus 1 for the lambda in the lambda representation. Okay. So this function x power 5 e power x minus 1, all other things are constants. Am I right? Do you agree with me? These are all constants.
Yes, sir.
We are, since this is being normalized, and what you do, make a normalized plot here. And this is what the normalized curve. And we are locating, we wanted to locate this maximum. Okay. This is the point which you want to, when you normalize and make a plot, you would like to locate this maximum. And what is the mathematical idea that is there to find out that is, you take a derivative of that, find out at what point the derivative goes to 0. That is being located here. This is the derivative, red one is the derivative of this function. That's what we are equating to 0 and solving and getting the number. Okay, exactly at 4.96511 it goes to 0. So this is the mathematical technique that one will be using. But of course, for solving this, we use various numerical methods. But general mathematical idea is that whenever there is a function which you have, if you wanted to find out the maximum of the function, take the derivative equal to 0, solve it, and find out at that point the derivative of the function will go to 0. It means the function and the derivative are able to connect it. This is the point at which the derivative goes to 0. That is reflected here in this red one. And that is the function which you have made for the lambda dependence to find out the maximum. And that has been fed back to this number, to your equation, and we are able to get the constant. We call it as a range constant. Okay, so you can see the plot here that has been shown, and you can see that this is what the slope at every point. Now you can visually feel that yes, the slope at that blue, the dot like that which is moving, that magnitude has become a red line, red curve, and that takes the value exactly to 0 at this point. This is line parallel to this x-axis at this point. Okay, so that number you can put in here. Check it, 4.96511. This is parallel to this x-axis. And this is what exactly the root of that equation. What has been shown is only I did this, but it is internally calculated like this, keeps it. Depending on necessity, it takes a number of digits in the computation. Mathematical does with all the knowledge already that it has. Okay, so this is fine now. We are able to do that in a lambda mode. We could able to find out this, and the number has been arrived at. So hopefully we can do that in the frequency mode also. You see a frequency here converted into substitute that this is the function and take a derivative of that. Then this is the function which has to be solved, and we are able to get the number which is 2.82144. Same, but we are shifting toward the frequency, and this is suffix of that, and this is the curve where it goes to 0 is in a different position now. That can be seen. It is quite interesting to see in terms of the, as I said, the idea is same again. When it reaches the maximum, the slope goes to 0. That is being located by giving these numbers. So visually you can see what is happening, and the technique that's used by to get this number is various numerical techniques. 2.82144. That's right. So this is the line parallel. This number is different, but it is consistent with that. Okay. So now we have this variation and it's shown. Right. So this generated again is not necessary. You know. Okay, this figure is enough. So now this constant can also be obtained, and we can get the number for a given temperature. This can be fixed. Okay, so now we have the spectral response with this function. Make a plot and look at it. So now we can see the mathematical tricks how this is being exploited here, which gives a clear-cut picture about what is that we are trying to do. The next part probably we have to see how does this, yeah, right. So this is the numbers which we have evaluated. This is the plot with respect to the frequency. This is with respect to lambda, which is a 3D plot to show how this peak is getting shifted with respect to lambda frequency. This is with respect to frequency. You can see this shift here, moving away from the y-axis. And this can be seen. Probably you are able to feel very much by looking at the bottom. There is a vertical line. Okay, so now let's see why this shape of the curve. Why this is, what is deciding the shape of this curve? See, why there is a limitation to maximum, and then it goes down on this side, it goes down on this side. What is it which is responsible for it? And they never cross each other also. They don't cross each other. This curves, okay, Planck's function, they don't cross each other. And there is going to be a maximum here, and then there is a magnitude suddenly goes to 0 at low frequency, suddenly goes up to high frequency, and in between there is a maximum. What is the factor which decides that kind of a shape of this curve? So how do you look at it, and how do you understand that? So once you have an energy which is quantized, okay, look at this. This is the energies which are quantized. Look at the spacing between them. When the energies of the photon is small, they are closely spaced. If the energy is more, they are well separated because each photon has their own energies. But when the photon energies are small, they will be close to space. Is it not? When I say you are here, the photon energy is small. When you are here, you have a higher energy photons. And with this, what happens when this is small? What happens when this is big? That should be looked into through this function. Then when you look at this with this photons with the lower energies, what happened? Photons with the higher energy, what happened to this? And then in between, what happens? How does this function behave? So once you have the picture, then you can really understand what decides the shape of this curve. That is, can you clearly see here? Look at here, or you can generate the number itself and make sure these numbers will help you to understand. When you go from lower value of frequency to higher value of frequency, what is the nature of the function and where does this takes care of your heating for a given temperature. Okay, let's look at this one. When HU is less than KT, this is what the results that you have with this sort of straight line features. And when you have U of nu, when you have a higher energy, so this is what the result that you have. So which means when you go to the extreme cases of low energy and higher energy, in terms of this function, they are having a less magnitude. We call it in terms of the probability for this higher energy and lower energy is less, and in between it is taking a peak because of the nature of the function. This is what happens with respect to this higher energy between the levels. This is the function that is being approximated. Lower energy, this is what the function. H is much less than KT. You can write the function in this form. It is equivalent to this. When you are higher energy, so though the number of states that are available are more, because energies are smaller, therefore this is what the function behavior. Here it is higher energy, but what happened with this higher energy? This becomes C power minus HU by KT, which is less probable. Therefore, this going down. In between it takes. That is the beauty of this HU by E, HU by KT. That is what has been accommodating this kind of a behavior. I hope things are clear to you. By looking at, you can look at the numbers with respect to the low frequency and high frequency extreme cases. Okay, 10 power 11, 10 power minus 23 minus 23, slowly it is going up, 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 then suddenly it started coming down. Okay, this being evaluated for this function, with respect to this photon energy, h nu by kt, what happens when it is much smaller? It's also smaller magnitude, and slowly it is going up. Is it increasing or not? Increasing, increasing. See, 10 power minus 23 is become 10 power 20 somewhere here. So something, and this is what the highest value, and then started going. So this is by taking the ratio of this, and it has been shown for a different news. And this is very much true for, go to the next KT. Okay, go to the next KT. Then look at the function, behavior function. We've seen similar behavior. Somewhere it peaks and then both sides goes down. This is sort of function. This is being started looking at in terms of the distribution of this photon energies, the distribution of the photons. Different photons are involved here. Please note that different photons are involved here. Your axis clearly shows that they have different distributions depending on the energy of the photon. That is what the dictating factor that decides the shape of this curve. That is so clearly which is emerges. Okay. So now we have some of the questions that have been asked, and you can make the plots in a large scale so that this is in large scale for clarity purposes. You can see T equal to 2000, 2500, 3000. This is what your Rayleigh-Jeans formula. So now you can see that though number of states are more, but the energy is very small. Here, number of states will be very less, but energies are very broad. So that when you put it over here, it makes this curve having a lesser magnitude here and lesser magnitude here. There is a peak within the given temperature for a particular value of the frequency. This is of course true with the lambda also. Can also be seen. And you can see for this, yeah, this is for the Rayleigh's result. And you can get the Rayleigh-Jeans results by expanding this. You know that exponential is in what? Expand it and simplify. This is the classical results that he is able to get it from the context things. So these are all other things which are not necessary for us now. So we can give it up. The time being, because there is a Planck length and Planck time, there is a Planck mass, they're all gone. This is a Planck length, Planck time, Planck's mass, and this is Planck's temperature. Are the numbers that you have. This is also different now. It should be just for people are trying to look at things completely in the units of the natural constants that are available. For example, gravitational constant C. And this is the Boltzmann constant. Suppose if you redefine the whole thing through this, is it going to be meaningful or not? So there's going to be a problem because this time 10 to minus 44 seconds of Planck's time is going to be a problem. The length of 10 to minus 35. And the Planck's temperature is something like 10 to 32 K. Well, these are the highly debated in the literature. Still, people are struggling to understand about it. Okay, then other things are calculations, fitting. So this is not necessary now for us. Okay, but it can be, results can be produced by systematically analyzing it. And there is one more thing which I felt like this is respect to the large scale as a temperature, how the peak is changing. These peaks are universal. Okay. Similarly here for lambda. Okay. This is lambda. So this is the temperature, this is the peak. This is the micrometer that has been given. So this all together we have to learn other mathematics, how to do the fittings, data analysis. Okay, this is all about this small bit of thing which whatever numerical methods you have learned here, you can verify all these things. Okay. And particularly, I would suggest you people try to look at these equations, get these numbers by using the three methods. All the three methods should provide this result. So three methods you already learned. Similarly, try this other one also. This result, this number should be produced. Okay, and decide the number of accuracies, and you make an analysis about the errors that's involved in different techniques, how much number of iterations, all can be done. Because this is known results, and this can be exploited now. Because known results, and also it will be useful for us. Because this is there in one of the major breakthrough discoveries in physics. And you imagine how much people have suffered in those days without having such softwares and the numerical techniques. Still, people have done it and they have come out with such numbers. That's something great. And we have to appreciate their mathematical skill, numerical and mathematical skills. Okay, so later, of course, you know, this revolution took place in understanding these equations. Okay, now it goes down here. We go to the other place where we are going to use this, whatever the technique which are studied. It's again connected to the one is the infinite potential well, other one is the finite potential well. I do not know whether you are familiar with this. This is a particle bound in an infinite potential well that can be solved completely by using mathematics. Okay. So here we are not going to use the numerical technique what we have learned, but there are other things that has been done: normalization, wave function, equating zero, derivative matching, everything has been done, and which will be done in the finite potential also. So probably I can spend some time, Shahin shall I spend some time, or I can go to the finite well. Shahin is around. Anyway, so I'll spend another 15 minutes or so on this, how this is being used to solve this Schrodinger equation. This is the basic Schrodinger equation. And you know what is the infinite potential well? So what is the potential inside the well? Equal to 0, outside is infinity. So now the equation 1, what we have written, is equal to 0, which is E B minus En psi of x minus x cross square by 2m psi double prime of x, which is similar to what we have written this acceleration we write A, which is x double prime of t. Here it is variable only different. Okay, the difference is that instead of t we have an x, that's all, position dependence. Okay, and then we are looking for a solution to the differential equations and apply them and solve them and look for the solution. And
Sir, but here psi has not been defined.
Why it should be defined? Because it's a variable like a y of t.
Okay, so
X of
it is
t.
a differential equation kind.
It's a differential kind. Why should we define that? It's not necessary to define it. No? We are going to, you have a set differential equation, you are setting it now. And solution can give you the psi itself. No? Like what you have seen in the acceleration. You have an acceleration y double prime of t. Here I find a x double prime of psi double prime of x. Only the variables are different. No? And this is psi of x. Correct? I don't see any difference between what has been done classically.
Yeah, variable is different only.
Only the variable is different. Nothing great here. It is again a differential equation only. It is only again the same differential equation. But interpretations are completely different. Psi doesn't make any sense as it is. We have to have a psi star sign. That is quantum. But as a mathematics, this is the differential equation makes sense. You can solve, look for the solution. Once you have the solution, for our interpretation, we make it completely different kind of an interpretation. It's not like what you have accelerated and there's a complex quantity, make a star. You don't take a star here, the things is not been done. But here it's, you have to try to look for a solutions and there are certain conditions that should satisfy for a given psi. All that should be taken care. Otherwise, that's not going to be a proper solution to this differential equation and it will not give any further information. Now, suppose the function what you have, if you are not able to normalize it, what is the use? Okay? It's not going to be a proper function. It's not acceptable as a wave function at all. It's not going to be eigenfunction at all. It should be normalizable. Okay? Then only you can make it as a acceptable wave function and then further we will use it. There are many functions which will not, you are not in a position to normalize them. Cannot be normalized. So it's automatically all this enters. There are, we define several conditions for that. How it should be satisfied. There should not be any discontinuities. Their function should be continuous. Derivative, function, both should be matched. These are all conditions fulfilled. Then we will try to look at the solution and make an interpretation afterwards. Okay, now this is more the starting equation in which we are going to substitute v equal to 0. That equation 2 becomes v0 from v0 is made. Then this is what your relation is. Then you are going to use energy rule. K rule. En is what? It's a free particle now. There's no confinement. There's no potential involved. En equal to h cross k square by 2n. Is it not? Is there any problem here? En becomes this potential equal to 0. The energy of the particle is h cross k square by. But there is a constraint. It has to be limited within a region. That's we are going to bring it because it is a infinite potential well. But well means it has a finite length. It is not an arbitrary length or a length of higher. If that's not few centimeters because this we know that you need to have certain conditions. That condition is satisfied here by taking a smaller length scale where quantum will be observable. Okay, so this is going to be h cross square k square by 2m. This is like a p square by 2m, which is if we place this p h cross k, is it not? Right? So h cross k square by 2m, which is a free particle now, in which now we are going to substitute k rule so that this energy becomes this factor. And then we are selecting this psi double prime. That's, of course, this you must be knowing, 1 of 1. Let me try to check whether that's going to be. I'll remove this and look at what is there. Is there anything available extra? And we have to pick out only the one of the things that we need. So what you have is only one. Because by the way, adding that, we are able to remove this one of the list bracket that has been removed. Okay. When we made a substitution rule, the rule is substituted here, and therefore it becomes psi double prime equal to minus k squared psi of x. Now we are going to solve this equation with the k rule. Okay. The rule equal that has been substituted. Now this has a solution cos x sin x with two constants c1 and c2. Is it clear now? So far so good, or still you have some difficulty in understanding? It's all k rule which is defined here, that has been substituted here. This is the basic equation now. We are going to solve that equation too, whatever is you are getting it in the final form. That gives the solution. See, now you can see we are not given any initial conditions. There are second order derivative. So now it has taken as it is and we are solving it. And it is going to be psi, which is a function of x, in which I have a constant c1 and c2. Okay. So now this is being defined as a D-sol as a solution now, by taking the 1, 1. So nothing has been great here so far. Set the equation and D-sol is used, and the D-sol solution is available for us to use further. There you have a constant C1 and C2 that should be determined by the proper boundary conditions. Okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear. Now go to this. Solution 1, reduce that psi of 0, psi of a. You can see you are equating wave function at x is equal to 0, x is equal to a. The wave function is vanishing. Solution is here. The solve is substituted here. This problem is known to you for. And when you use reduce, it gives the all possible condition with C1 equal to 0 and then C2 here again. Sine of AK not equal to 0 and C2 equal to 0 and C1 equal to 0. So these conditions, all conditions will be explicitly given by using the statement reduce. So we can call for reduce and understand what the reduce is. It's better than solving the conditions, and it gives all the restriction that is there for this kind of an expression. When you use this limiting cases, where psi of 0 equal to 0, psi of a is also 0, which means at the boundaries the wave function should vanish because it's an infinite potential. Okay, so now En is this, in which this makes that k must be n pi by a because of this boundary condition. Okay, there's a k, that k becomes n pi by a because of this condition. If I impose that, I get an energy. Energy, yes, because this problem is known to you. When you follow the steps systematically, you will understand things. Then you write as a psi of x underscore n underscore equal to psi of x. Substitute that c of 1 equal to 0 and k equal to this number. You have the solution. Now C2 is the normalization constant. See, I'm integrating this, squaring it, equal to 1. I'm trying to get this, and C2 in units of k, I'm able to get it, and I'm able to find the normalization constant here. There are two roots are there, one of them we can select. That has become square root of 2 by a. And this is what your final result after normalization. These are all the steps with the derivation that you might have learned several times by referring the textbooks. Then keep that in mind and try to look at things. sure that you will understand about how the steps are being followed. Okay, so far things are good now. As we have found this solution, general solution, then apply the limiting cases in which automatically that solution that C1 is going to 0, C2 is available, and make substitution and normalize it. And finally, we have this function, which can be written as psi of x underscore n cap is equal to this form. Normalization sequence simplified. This is what the result is. Now we can make a table of psi of 1, psi of 2, psi of 3, psi of 4. Okay, as one of this, the orthogonal properties already here. Yes, table integrate. Okay, 0 to a, I very small to j very small. Put it in the heading now. You can see the normalization is available for psi 1 to psi 2 to psi 2, psi 3 to psi 3, psi 4 to psi 4. All other thing goes to 0. They are orthogonal results, orthogonal functions. Correct?
Yes, sir.
See? This is orthogonal. So that has been checked. Now you can make a plot of the function now. Plot evaluate psi n of x, which is already defined, available here for a different values of n. This is 1 because you are asking to put the legend. This is 1 by 1, 2. The other one because this one 3. You can see the 3 one must be the green one. This is 3 and this is the 4. So this is done now. Automatically that's all will be taken care and plotted. And if you want to have a square of that, you can make a square of that. And then if you want to see the linear combination of the function is also a solution to the Schrodinger equation, that can also be checked. Because it need not be independent solution, then the linear combination also solution to this Schrodinger equation, that can also be checked. So all these possibilities you have here. Here you can see this something new which you have introduced, reduce. Please check through your mathematical code. When do you use reduce and what is the purpose for reduce when compared to this solve or find root or n solve. See, use all possible solutions with conditions. So when you use reduce, what is this? X and Y. Let it copy. So I use no, you may not copy the statement, not let it copy. So here I want to use simplify. How does it want to? Or it solve. Okay, it's giving this equation may not give a solutions for all solved
Sir,
variables.
two variables are there.
Two variables, so it doesn't matter, but x and y it has found. There are two possible roots that has been found. X in terms of y it has been given. Two variables are there. It has given the solution in terms of x. But whereas when you use reduce, no, use y root with all possible conditions. So you have additional information that are available for you. And you can see that this is not enough. Suppose if you try to solve this n solve numerically, so the number that you get, but this again there is an issue here. N reduce, I do not know. I don't think you have the n reduce. Reduce is not available. You can only reduce the equation, then substitute that and then simplify, look for the solutions. You can always substitute the x values and get the values of y. Okay, so now if you want to have a detailed things about the conditions under which that should be used, all will be available when you use the reduce. Okay, you can see here the conditions that are given. You can also give conditions, and it provides with respect to this condition, give the solutions. Here again, you can see here. So it exists now with the conditions it can come out. And I think you asked for something now similar to this.
Yeah.
You have a
Quadratic
circle and it
and
meets,
linear.
it's meeting at a point and solution has been found and that point has been plotted here. So like this, there are other options and plus you have the scope for various things to do with this reduce. So this is more detailed algebraic simplification. This algebra is more detailed with all possible conditions that have been given for a given equation which you try to look the solution. So that is being exploited here. And then other things, of course, you can see here normalization condition, how this is being used. Equal to 0, integrating, squaring. Okay. And you see element n integer. This again you are imposing this condition. These are all options that are available. You try to do the simplifications. I can say something about this conditions about it that can be given. With that you try to look for. Otherwise, the integer is not taken, then it's going to be a problem. Okay. So that's why you define it as an integer and then look for the solutions and then given. Okay, now it's time. The only thing I wanted to show here, when you do the finite potential valve, completely depends on numerical method. Unless you have the numerical method, there is no solution to this problem. I do not know how many of them are familiar with this. You don't have analytical solution for this, but numerical solution is fantastic. This is the meeting point of even function or odd function. That points cannot be solved analytically. The only solution is numerically, it has to be solved. And solve it for different potential and use the n values, find root, find root. So it is so clear that unless you have the established numerical method, it is not possible for us to have a solution to this so-called the finite potential. Well, where you have an even solution, odd solution, tan function, cot function that will be used, that is being solved, numbers are given, and the wave function has been shown. This is the even function, symmetric, odd function, this anti-symmetric. That's here. So I believe probably you can go through the necessity of the numerical techniques arises to find the eigenvalues. Eigenvalue cannot be found for a given potential, okay, if you do not have a numerical. But this is most useful potential. Okay, this is well known for us. Potential well with the minus of V0 bound state. This we will go to the hydrogen atom when you go for a 1 by f odd potential. Okay. Wave function will vanish outside, only existing inside. That is what it says. And depending on the even odd function, the solution has been found. You can see, you can put it in the well itself. This is what wave function is found in this. See, outside the well, it goes to 0. This even function, an odd function, outside the well, it goes to 0. Whereas if it is a barrier, it's completely different. Or the same problem, if I have a potential which is positive, which goes up, is it not? If you put a plus sign, this will become a potential barrier. Correct? You agree with me? Put a plus sign.
Yes, sir.
It becomes positive. Energy, here it is negative. Okay. Minus potential, energy also negative. It's about bound states. Whereas when I lift it up from plus sign, I can have a particle which is coming from left, far away. It's a scattering problem. And it's also a potential barrier. So barrier penetration is there. So the whole thing gets changes. So if you have a complete picture of understanding of this with this negative energies and massive wave function, all the three, then take a finite values. And when you do that, you need to have a numerical methods. Analytical solution is ruled out. Okay, it's a must that you need to have a numerical technique. That can be solved and you can predict about several things. Answer so nicely. And there are many systems which has this kind of a potential, particularly quantum mechanics, quantum chemistry. There are a lot of molecules energy is being calculated by using this kind of approaches. Okay. So any questions? Clarification. Otherwise, I'll send you these things now. Probably, Shaheen, I don't have to spend much time on this. Now I'll jump to the numerical further. Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I'm just showing here how important is the numerical techniques. Unless you have a numerical technique, there is no solution even. So for that purpose only this problem I have discussed.
Sir,
Therefore,
this
it's very
technique
important.
is very important. Like if
Very
students
important.
are doing some project
Yes.
or they can
Yes.
they can
yes,
explore for different types of potential and
Yes. You just take this problem. Okay. Put them in different energies. Each time you have a different solution.
Yeah.
Be solved. It should be solved. And you will get a numbers, very nice numbers which are more meaningful, corresponding eigenvalue, eigenfunction can be plotted. For every energy you find you have a different kind of a eigenvalue and eigenfunctions. That will be different, and you get a symmetric means you have a functions of this type. Okay, symmetric, and anti-symmetric means you'll get this one. Okay, and correspondingly your energies also will be different. Symmetric and anti. So you can see the symmetric can be solved. It's a very nice problem for people to learn the wave mechanics aspects of the quantum physics at the beginning stage. I tell you this with the black body radiation, and don't try to think about only the way what has been written here, what I'm sending. For example, I have shown you the black body radiation. Okay, with the see, it's completely different way it has been written. Is it not? Am I right? It's an option for you. You don't have to really see. Even the solution directly has been found without even simplifying. There I have given a detailed method and we are visually you have felt it. But once you become expert with an understanding mathematics, then directly I'll use this and just taken as it is. This question has been found. So derivative will be taken. See, d of thing, I have taken, factored it, and take this equal to 0, solve, I'm getting directly the number what I need. So doesn't mean that you should follow like what has been done. There are a variety of ways one can define the function the way you like it and try to explore them and try to understand every bit of it and see that you have a clear picture emerges. For example, if I try to explain the whole thing for the beginners, it will be a messy thing. But once you are familiar, then this is nothing. It's very simple. One-step results I have. I don't have to find the root, substitute it back. No, not at all necessary because the whole function as it is, I'm taking it, taking a derivative equal to 0. By factoring it, I know this is the part which is important. I equate that to 0 and solve it, I'm getting the result. So that's how we will be doing it. Similarly, plots. And here also you see, integrate 0 to infinity. I'm getting it with respect to the frequency integration. Okay, total energy and the curve. Okay, this is what the result divided by t power 4 is a constant. You can see divided by total energy divided by t power 4 equal to 2 k power 4 pi power 5 15 c square h cube. Same thing I'm getting with respect to lambda also. Get it now?
yes,
So this
sir.
constant I mean to get it. So it doesn't mean that there is a restricted. This is what the method is. Because you are learned in what's so called the mathematical course, and you can handle the way you like it. Okay, compact form you can write it also. And here also you can see when I look at I'm not able to understand anything. But if you multiply with the second and second, divide second, is it not? This doesn't make not able to connect to the physical problem what I'm trying to look at it. But when I do this one, then it will be immediately clear for me. So these are the things that one should be in a position to do it and understand things and execute them and make sure that there is some clarity in your understanding. So once you do things like this, it's also acceptable. It is much more better way because you have a clear-cut understanding about the function. Thorough understanding you already have. So this is very much acceptable. And you can see here it's one step now. Sum 0 to infinity, divide the sum by infinity, and this is the result. The average. Okay, and multiply with these modes. That's all. Over. So the whole process of results can be written in 4 or 5 lines. That's over. And you have a clear picture about it. So that's how it should be done. And you define things like this and keep it. So we can have any number of constants which you like here. You can put it. Whatever is required only it will be take. You can use this with you can have another 10, 15 physical constants with a rule you can make it, define it. If you enter physical constant, whatever the function is required, that alone will take. Remaining will be ignored. So therefore, you can have all the physical constants at one place, define and keep it. And that can be used consistently wherever you like. And wherever you like, when you use it, only whatever is needed for that function. For example, here, E is electronic charge which has not been used at all. Did we use anywhere? No. Am I right? But still, that can be physical constant can be introduced here for extracting the parameters. See? Again, the physical constant I have taken. E will be simply ignored. That's all. Similarly, other parameters available that will be ignored. So these are all very much has been thought over it and then has been written. Okay. Any questions? Any clarifications? Otherwise, we meet tomorrow.
Sir, a small question.
Please.
Yeah, what is the if all frequency in black body radiation, if there is no distribution, then what would be the physical implication? We will feel very hot if.
No, it's not like that. Eh? See, you have the well, where is the other one? Oh. What you are trying to say, if the function is behaving like a Rayleigh formula or a Rayleigh-Jeans formula.
Or, for example, if there is no distribution, all energies have equal.
See, the energy received by the Earth will become an infinite energy. Then nothing will be existing on the Earth. That's why this so-called catastrophe.
Okay.
Ultraviolet catastrophe, because this energy, what you are integrating with the other functions, is going to be infinity. If infinite energy is received from the source, like a black body from a black body, like a sun, the energy is infinity. Nothing will be existing on the Earth.
But a finite amount of energy would be supplied from the sun, depending upon the area.
No, but the total energy, see, it is supplying energy. You are taking away the energy is continuously given, but infinite amount of energy that is being received because of your nature of the function that you have when you integrate it. Okay. Whatever which you are understanding, which you have with the Rayleigh-Jeans formula, if I use them, what is the total energy which you get for that kind of a function which you use? It's going to be infinity. It's not the whole sun energy has been transferred here. It's not like that. It is a function which is trying to say that it's going to be the energy which is received become infinity. Your Rayleigh function, which gives that much of energy, that seems to be like a catastrophe if this really happens. But that's not real situation. Nature doesn't allow to happen that. Nature allows to happen only the type what we have seen here. This is what the type of thing that happens. If I integrate all possible lambdas or all possible frequencies, the energy really becomes infinite. Okay?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean nature doesn't allow the entire energy to be sun energy transferred there, or it is not the case with losing the entire energy of the sun. That's also not possible. Okay? It is going to be a distribution. Okay? It is going to be a source has a distribution. With that, it releases energy. That distribution is followed. That is why this is a nature's constant. H is a nature's constant. Okay.
Yeah.
We treat them as a natural constant. That is why through the natural constant, we try to define all the lengths, all the derivatives, so-called the length scales. You have fundamental quantities in terms of length, energy, mass. This happens to be a natural constant. People are thinking that this natural constant can redefine the entire unit system of unit what we use, but that is not happening. It's not happening. I shown that Planck's length, Planck time, Planck's temperature.
Yeah. During
that's not happening. Still we are not in a position to understand. There are certain things still we are not in a position to understand. So which calls an indication H cannot be an ultimate natural constant. Okay, that's not really ultimate.
Yeah.
Not
Something more would be there.
Yeah, there is something still more. There's something is much more is still existing. So that's not ultimate now. That's not really ultimate.
Sir, one more question.
Yes.
What as for MSc project, what more can be given for black body radiation?
Black body radiation, water, which I described, it can be given, and you can use the photovoltaic cell. Go to the photovoltaic cell problem. Okay. See, take it to the application. And in fact, look at this. I wanted to show you that back again. You should check that. Black body radiation. Yes, I'll show you now. Where do you want to? You asked a pertinent question. Go to this web. You can generate empty number of projects if you like.
Yes, sir.
You go to the application. There are very many things that can be. This is a photovoltaic education, which basically uses this concept, whatever you learn. You apply there and try to see something potentially which comes out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is the web. That's why I have given this. First thing I have given is this. After learning this, think about whatever can be done. In fact, that is a potential area because your efficiency for the photovoltaic is very, very, very small so far. Okay, some 12 to 13% only so far. If you increase even by 15%, it's going to be a big achievement. And think about what is to be done and how you are going to handle the problems. Get the point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Really.
Amazing thing that can be done. You can think about and what kind of a material should be used and how does we convert them to the energy. Why there is a limitation of only 12 to 13% only you are going to be able to use the sunlight. So there are fantastic things that can be done. In fact, with this base, if you start thinking, you are better, understanding will be much better. I know there are so many engineering students, they try to learn. If this base is missing, their work is not really complete. Okay. With this background, if you start looking at this PV photovoltaic thing now, I'm sure that you are definitely enormous and your thinking also will be enormous, where you need to have a lot of understanding about the radiation matter interaction. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Radiation matter interaction. How to handle it. Conversion. That enters automatically. So that's why I have given this as a first thing that I have given here. Please have an understanding, try to learn as much as possible, take it to the next level. Every physics problem, whatever which you learn, is meant for somewhere something should be done. It is happening now. We should try to think and see that something can be done better. So you take anything with you, even the one what I mentioned, the infinite potential well. There are so many molecules. They have the features like infinite potential behavior. Okay, and perform the computation. Do a spectroscopy study. Connect them. That's a good project. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have so many molecules. They are almost close to the infinite potential well behavior. You have energy levels. Take that as an actual values of the molecular dimensions and the number of electrons, everything you take into consideration. Make a calculations. Do an experiment with the so-called the spectroscopy. Connect them. That is another project. Then you go to the potential well. Again, there are problems that is possible. So it's all how we expand it, our knowledge. In fact, application will be much more challenging. Okay, but if you have a stronger base, if you are going towards the application, you are really king. You can really contribute in a greater level when compared to the other people. Okay, because you have a strong base and you are able to think what is really happening and how do I alter that to improve the performance. Fine.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, bye. See you.
So we will meet tomorrow 2:30 then.
Yeah, we'll meet tomorrow. And tonight we can have a class.
Yeah, classical mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah, we can have. Yes. Okay, fine. See you. Bye.
Okay. Have a nice day, sir. Thank you.